Stop trying to force big change. Your identity isn't a declaration, it's just evidence. That feeling of burnout you have, it's proof that you're focusing on the wrong things. True change happens not with willpower, but with tiny, consistent action. You know, something really interesting happens to almost all of us when we decide to change. Maybe you've experienced it recently. That moment of sudden, dramatic inspiration. You decide you're going to be a healthy person, a reader, or a morning person. And then you go all in, right? You buy the expensive new running shoes, clear your schedule, tell everyone about your new life, maybe even buy that cute, color-coordinated workout gear. It feels amazing. You feel like the new identity has already arrived. But here is the universal truth that almost no one talks about. 3 weeks later, where are you? Back to your old habits, the new shoes collecting dust, the book unopened. This brings up a fascinating question, and one I really want you to think about. Why does this happen? Why does all that motivation and all that feeling of change dissolve so quickly? What I've discovered through years of studying how people actually change is that most of us try to change the outcome first, or even worse, we try to change the identity first. We try to force ourselves to be a healthy person, hoping the actions will follow. But here's the secret. Your identity doesn't lead your actions. Your identity follows your actions. Identity just doesn't work the way we think it does. It's not a declaration you make on January 1st. Think of your brain not as a cheerleader who believes your promises, but as a meticulous, hardworking detective. This detective is constantly watching you. Not what you say you're going to do, but what you actually do. Every single tiny action you take, and I mean every single one, sends a signal to that detective in your mind. This is the evidence it uses to determine, who is this person? When you do something once, your brain sees it as a fluke, an outlier, a one-off event. It doesn't register when you do it twice. Now the detective starts to notice an interesting pattern. It files the evidence away under a temporary folder. But when you take that action a third time, and then a fourth, and then a fifth, that's when something truly magical happens. Your brain goes, oh, wait a minute, we keep doing this. This must be a part of who they are. They must be a person who does this. This is the bedrock of lasting change. It's why trying to go from 0 to 50 miles an hour always ends in a crash. You have to start microscopically small. So small it feels almost silly, almost too easy. Let's say you want to become a reader. Don't do what I initially did and declare, I will read 50 books this year. That massive declaration overwhelms your internal detective and makes failure feel inevitable. Instead, just commit to reading one single page every day. That's it. Just one page. Now, let me break down what actually happens in your brain when you stick to that minuscule commitment. It's pretty incredible. Day 1, your brain notices, interesting. We read today. Day 2, another page. We're doing this again. Day 3, 4, 5. Wait a minute. This is happening consistently. Are we, dare I say it, becoming a reader? Every time you turn that single page, you are casting a tiny vote for the person you want to become. You're not just reading a page. You're sending a definitive signal to your identity detective. I am a person who reads. This is what I call the identity loop in action. And honestly, it is beautiful in its simplicity. Small, consistent signals reshape your internal self-image. Once your brain accepts, I am a reader, those actions stop feeling like a chore and start feeling natural. They become a reflection of who you are. This stronger self-image then makes it easier to keep taking the action, which strengthens the self-image even more. The best part? You don't need willpower. You don't need massive declarations, and you definitely don't need a cheerleader. All you need are tiny, strategic actions that add up to massive, irreversible change. This works for literally any change you want to make, whether it's being a better partner, a more focused professional, or someone who exercises regularly. But there is one catch, one critical rule. You have to start smaller than your ego wants to. Way smaller. Your ego screams for dramatic, immediate change. Your brain, the silent winner, whispers for consistency. In this battle, consistency always wins. Now that we understand how our actions act as evidence, building the identity we claim, let's talk about where that evidence is stored and what it's actually doing. Because this isn't just abstract philosophy. It's hard science happening inside your head every second of every day. The The second topic is all about your brain, and specifically, the incredible, almost magical concept of neuroplasticity. Simply put, your brain changes every single day, and the most incredible thing is this: you get to decide how it changes. Think of your brain not as a static, finished computer, but as a vast, lush, living garden. Every thought you have, every action you take, every habit you repeat, they are all like creating trails in that garden. When you walk a path once, it's a barely visible track. But when you walk the same path over and over, to the coffee machine, to the fridge for a snack, to the gym for a workout, it becomes clearer. It gets wider. It becomes easier and easier to travel. Trust me, the path I take to the kitchen when I'm bored is well worn, practically a superhighway. Here's where it gets really interesting, and why your brain is so beautifully neutral. Your brain has no idea whether these pathways lead to beautiful, thriving flowers or to unproductive, overgrown weeds. It just does what it's designed to do. It says, hey, we use this path a lot. Better make it stronger, faster, and more automatic. It's kind of like how your brain automatically knows the route to your favorite, perhaps unhealthy, takeout place, even though you've consciously decided you should be heading to the grocery store instead. The path is simply too well maintained. Remember how we talked about tiny actions building identity? Well, this is the physical why behind that success. Every single time you take that small action, that one page you read, that one stretch you do, that one sip of water you take, you are not just doing something. You are literally rewiring your brain. You are reinforcing a new, desirable path. And those old, limiting patterns, those habits you aren't super proud of, the ones that hold you back, they are just paths too. They're old, established trails. And here is the truly good news: you can absolutely let them grow over. But, and this is crucial, you don't let them grow over by fighting them. When you try to stop a habit, your brain actually focuses on it even more. It's the classic psychological experiment. Try to stop thinking about pink elephants. What are you thinking about right now? Pink elephants, right? That's your brain's attention mechanism at work. When you focus on stopping something, you are actually reinforcing the thought pattern. So, here's what we do instead. Instead of fighting the old path, focus all your energy on building the new one. Want to stop checking your phone first thing in the morning? Don't fight the urge to reach for it. That just makes your brain think about the phone even more. Instead, build a tiny new morning routine. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water, doing a 60-second stretch, or taking 3 deep, intentional breaths. Every single time you choose that new, small action, something incredible happens. You are literally building new neural connections, new, fresh paths in your brain's garden. And that old, unhelpful path to the phone, it starts to fade. Not because you fought it fighting actually makes it stronger, but because you simply stopped maintaining it. It's like how an old route to a previous job gradually fades from your memory once you start working from home. You don't actively try to forget it. You simply stop traveling that path. This is the real, powerful secret to lasting change. You don't have to wage war with your old self. You just have to consistently build new, tiny paths, one small step at a time. Your brain is literally designed for this. When you understand this process, you stop relying on fickle willpower and start using your brain's natural ability to create new automatic superhighways to success. We just saw how those old paths in your brain fade, but how exactly do you choose the right small actions to start with? And how do you ensure you stick to them for 30 days straight without burning out? If you're ready to stop relying on willpower and start using your brain's natural design, I've created a complete blueprint for you. My new ebook, 30 Days to a Better You, gives you the exact microscopic steps and environmental setup principles you need to build a powerful new habit in just 4 weeks. Don't wait for motivation. Click the link below and grab your copy of 30 Days to a Better You right now. Let's start building those new superhighways today. We've established the foundational truth. Identity is built by action, and those actions physically rewire our brains, creating new neural pathways. But even with this knowledge, consistency can feel like a battle. Why? Because the modern world is actively designed to hijack your attention and pull you back onto those old, worn paths. This brings us to the third crucial element of effortless, lasting change: environmental design mastery. The smartest way to change your life isn't what most people think. It's not about relying on motivation, which is fleeting. And it's certainly not about counting on willpower, which is a limited resource that runs out, usually around 10 p.m. Instead, we need to talk about something infinitely more powerful, your environment. Take a moment right now and look around the room you're in. Everything you see, every object, every placement, every color, is either subtly pushing you toward your goals or subtly pulling you away from them. The fantastic news is that you actually have complete, total control over this physical force field. To understand this, let's use a simple, elegant law of nature. Think about water. Water always follows the path of least resistance. It always flows downhill. Here is the secret. Your behavior works exactly the same way. You are fundamentally designed to flow toward whatever is easiest, most visible, and most accessible in your immediate environment. I noticed this profoundly in my own life. I used to think the key to eating healthier was all about willpower, trying desperately to resist those late-night cravings. But here is what actually works. Don't stock up on willpower. Just stop buying the junk food. I've learned through painful, repeated experience that at 10 p.m., when you're tired, stressed, and your decision-making capacity is drained, your willpower is gone. But you know what still works perfectly? The fact that there is no ice cream, no chips, and no tempting snacks in the house. The resistance is physical, not mental. I call this the friction principle. It's beautifully simple and incredibly effective. Make good habits downhill. Make them the path of least resistance. Make bad habits uphill. Introduce tiny steps of resistance that act as a barrier. Want to exercise more? Stop thinking about motivation. Instead, physically place your workout clothes, your shoes, and your water bottle right next to your bed so that they are the very first thing you see and touch. Now, not exercising requires more effort. You have to move the clothes to get out of bed. That's friction working for you. Want to stop mindlessly scrolling social media? Don't just try to resist the urge. Delete the apps off your home screen. Make it take 3 extra steps. You have to search for the app, log in, or re-download it. Those 3 extra steps introduce just enough friction to break the automatic loop. Remember how we talked about brain patterns and neural pathways? Your environment is basically a physical, 3D version of those patterns. Change the environment, and you automatically change the patterns. Studies have shown that people who simply keep a fruit bowl visible on their counter eat 70% more fruit than those who hide it away. Think about that for a second. No willpower needed. No motivation required. Just smart environmental design. It's exactly what happened to me when I put a large, attractive water bottle right on my desk. Suddenly, I was drinking way more water without even thinking about it. Once you understand this principle, you can design success triggers everywhere. Want to read more? Place the book you want to read on your coffee table or nightstand open to the page you left off. Want to practice an instrument? Stop putting it away in the case. Leave it out on a stand. Your environment is like an invisible force field that is always influencing your behavior 24/7. Once you set it up correctly, by removing friction for the good things and adding friction for the bad things, it works for you even when you are tired, stressed, or completely unmotivated. It's the ultimate form of self-control because you're controlling the space, not your mind. We've covered the power of action in building identity and the mastery of friction in your environment. These are the hardware and software of lasting change. But even the most perfectly designed system, the strongest identity, the most frictionless environment, needs a power source. And that's where most people miss something absolutely crucial. Everyone talks about time management. We try to squeeze more tasks into the finite 24 hours we have. We try to push harder, sleep less, work longer. We obsessively manage the clock. But there is a fundamental truth we miss. You can't actually manage time. Time moves forward no matter what we do, relentlessly. What you can manage is your energy. Let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself here. Have you ever had one of those days with plenty of free time? Say, a whole Saturday open. But you felt so drained, so mentally empty, that you couldn't do anything meaningful with it. You just ended up scrolling, staring, and feeling guilty. Or maybe you've experienced the glorious opposite. A day where you only had a tiny 30-minute window, but you were so energized, so focused, that you accomplished more than you usually do in 3 hours. I see some of you nodding. We've all been there. Here is what took me years to truly understand. Your energy isn't just about being tired or awake. It's actually your capacity to execute, your ability to learn, to grow, to create, and to push forward with new habits. Unlike time, which we can't expand, energy can be expanded, renewed, and utilized strategically. Think about that for a second. Most people get this completely backward. They try to squeeze more and more into their time. They view their energy like a disposable resource to be burned. But watch closely. This always eventually backfires. You end up in a cycle of burnout, which immediately throws you back onto your old, effortless paths. Instead, think of your energy like a high-tech battery that comes with a built-in solar panel. Sure, you can drain it. We all do sometimes. But you can also quickly recharge it. And even better, you can actually upgrade your battery's overall capacity through strategic recovery. Did you know that your brain uses about 20% of your body's total energy? But during intense, focused periods, like when you're learning a difficult concept or resisting a strong urge, that energy consumption can jump dramatically. This is why you feel utterly, mentally exhausted after a long study session or a marathon of deep work. Your brain is literally running a marathon of its own. Therefore, recovery isn't just about rest, it's about strategic renewal. You know those moments when you think you're doing nothing? Maybe gazing out the window or lying down for a few minutes? Something incredible is actually happening. Your brain is consolidating learning, replenishing vital chemical resources, and cementing those new neural pathways we talked about. This completely transforms how we should approach planning our days. Instead of asking, how can I fit more tasks into my time, which is the exhausting old way, you need to start asking, how can I match my tasks to my natural energy peaks? It's like surfing. You want to catch the wave at just the right moment for maximum momentum. Need to learn something new, tackle a complex problem, or create that new difficult habit. Do it when your energy is highest. Your natural peak, usually in the morning. Need to do routine, administrative, or easier tasks. Save those for your energy troughs, like late afternoon. We applied the friction principle to our environment. Now let's apply that same thinking to our day. Design your day around your natural energy rhythms. Create renewal triggers. A mandatory 5-minute walk, a specific meditation break, or a structured pause. That signal to your brain, it's time to refill the tank. Here's the absolute truth I've learned. When you master your energy, time takes care of itself. You will accomplish more in a 30-minute peak period than in 3 hours of low-energy slogging. By treating energy as your primary currency, you move from a stressful race against the clock to a powerful rhythmic flow that makes consistent action effortless. We've arrived at the final, most powerful stage of this journey. We started by realizing that our identity isn't a grand declaration, but a quiet summation of our repeated actions. We then saw how those consistent, tiny actions literally rewire the pathways of our physical brain. Following that, we learned to harness the friction principle, making our environment an invisible, always-on ally for success. And most recently, we shifted our focus from the finite clock to our infinite capacity for renewed energy. Now, we weave all three of these threads together: action, environment, and energy. When these three elements align, change stops being a struggle and becomes automatic. This is how you build the effortless self. Think of it like a perfectly tuned self-driving machine. If you rely only on action without the other two, you're just trying to push a heavy object uphill using only sheer muscle. You'll be exhausted and you'll quit. If you only manage your environment without conscious action, you'll just default to whatever the environment makes easiest, which might not be what you want. And if you only manage your energy without direction, you'll just have a powerful battery with nowhere to go. The secret is the integration, where the whole system is greater than the sum of its parts. Let's use the example of becoming a person who consistently practices a valuable skill, like learning a new language. You start microscopically small. No big declarations. Your initial action is simply review 3 flashcards every morning. The vote. Each time you review those 3 cards, you cast a vote. I am a person who prioritizes learning this language. The identity shift. Your brain detective registers the consistency, moving your identity from someone who wants to learn to someone who is learning. The act feels less like a chore and more like the simple reflection of who you are. Next, you make this tiny action effortless by applying the friction principle. Make it downhill. You place the 3 flashcards directly on top of the remote control or your coffee mug. The 2 things you reach for immediately in the morning. The cards are now the path of least resistance. You can't avoid them. Remove uphill friction. You delete distracting social media apps from your phone's home screen so your brain doesn't have an easy escape route into mindless scrolling when it's time to focus on the cards. Finally, you ensure you have the fuel for this new habit by managing your energy. Match task to peak. You know learning is a high energy task, so you schedule the 3-card review for the first 15 minutes of your workday, your natural energy peak. You wouldn't attempt this at 10 p.m. when your brain is running on fumes. Strategic renewal. You immediately follow the 3-card review with your renewal trigger, a 60-second stretch or a glass of water. This rewards your brain with a break, consolidating the learning and ensuring you don't deplete the battery needed for the rest of your day. When you execute this integrated loop, something truly remarkable happens. The system becomes self-reinforcing. The tiny, consistent action strengthens the identity. The environment ensures the action is almost impossible to not do. The strategic energy management ensures you always have the mental fuel to take the action without relying on heroic willpower. You reach for the remote, your hand hits the card's friction principle. Your brain is fresh and ready energy management. You quickly review the 3 cards, casting a powerful vote action/identity. You've barely spent any time or willpower, yet you've built a superhighway in your brain, strengthened your sense of self, and made change the automatic default. This is the ultimate secret to lasting transformation. You are no longer fighting your old self or battling the clock. You are simply stepping into a life that has been elegantly designed to produce the outcomes you desire. Your brain will literally do the rest, because that is what it is designed for, to make the most used pathways the easiest. By integrating these 3 principles, you move beyond the effort of change and into the flow of being the person you were always meant to be.